Hi guys, welcome back to Current Affairs Unfiltered. I'm your host, Paige Fullman. We are halfway through Candidate Month 2.0, and this week we are going to Michigan's 7th District. I really hope you guys have been enjoying listening to these as much as I have had recording them and putting them out. I've said it so many times, but I'll say it again. It's just so great to hear the different paths toward this run that everyone has taken and hear just the diversity of ideas and thought around how do we fix this? How do we get out of this mess? And this candidate is no different. Today's guest is Matt Maasdam, who is running in Michigan's 7th District and is overall just a fantastic candidate. And I'm really excited for this conversation. He has such a depth and breadth of knowledge on so many topics in the government and in the armed forces that is so integral in this moment, I think, to, having a seat in Congress given where we're at. So I'm so excited to put this out and, kind of give you guys some of that background knowledge about, what a SEAL is or, what does national security mean in this day and age. So very exciting. But first, a little bit about Matt before we get to the episode. Forged by 2 decades as a Navy SEAL, Matt has dedicated his life to serving his country and community. A University of Michigan graduate, he joined the Navy after college, deploying to Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, and the Pacific, where he worked to disrupt terrorist networks and protect American lives. His leadership earned him the role of lead instructor for SEAL Hell Week, preparing more than 1,000 future SEALs in the values that define his career: teamwork, judgment, integrity, passion, and courage. Matt later earned a degree from Harvard's Kennedy School and was selected to serve as President Barack Obama's military aide, responsible for crisis response planning and carrying the nuclear football. After active duty, he brought his mission-driven mindset to the private sector, helping lead a 2,000-person team at Under Armour before founding 2 e-commerce businesses, gaining first-hand insight into job creation and the challenges facing working families. Matt now lives in mid-Michigan with his wife Laura, a veteran naval helicopter pilot, and their 2 hockey-loving sons, raising their family with the same values that have guided his life of service. Without further ado, here is my conversation with Matt. Matt, thank you so much for coming on. It is an absolute pleasure to have you.
Thank you, Paige. I appreciate being here. This is great.
No, of course. So let's start with some of your background. You've been a Navy SEAL, a White House military aide, business leader, and now you are running for office as a candidate. For listeners who don't know, what does it actually mean to be a SEAL, and how did that experience shape your approach to leadership?
So a SEAL is the United States military, and particularly the Navy's special forces. So we're kind of people that get sent into very high pressure situations on the Navy side, and that can look a lot of different ways, but it's usually involving water or being close to the water, right? So if we have to take over a pirate ship, we're the guys that do it. If we have to go out on a gas or oil platform, we're the guys that do it. One good story I like to tell, I was in Australia. I was working with the Australian Special Forces, and we were jumping out of planes with them. So I'm the first guy on the ramp of the airplane looking out of the back. Crystal blue water. We're south of Sydney. And this guy, the jump master, has got this little box, and he's like scanning the ocean. And I go, "What are you doing?" Because, Americans don't do that. And he goes, "Oh, mate, if there's more than 7 sharks in this little box, we can't jump." And I was like, "Okay." And he goes, "We're good." And I was like, "Does that mean there's 6?" And he goes, "Go." And I'm like, "Okay." I jump out of the plane, and I look up, my parachute opens, I look down, and I can see sharks everywhere. Right. And so the water was clear and beautiful, but it meant that I could see big sharks, small sharks at different depths, cutting back and forth. And I was like, you're going into the water at this point. We jump with fins and those kind of things. But what I tell my kids when they get scared is, you're the scariest thing out there. And it's true. A shark doesn't want to have anything to do with you in the water usually. And so I got in the water and, put on my fins and kicked over the boat, and everything was fine. And it was fine for everybody. I mean, the Australians weren't going to put us in a situation where we were going to be eaten by sharks. But it's a good example of kind of what SEALs do, right? SEAL is an acronym, and it stands for sea, air, and land. And so we operate in all of those environments. Working in the ocean is very difficult because water, and salt water in particular, is very corrosive and it hurts your gear. It's hard to waterproof your gear. And so working on land in some of those situations is something we can do too. So, but the short answer to like what a SEAL is. So I came to Michigan. I'm running for Congress in Michigan. I came to Michigan for school. I went right into the Navy after school. So I was in Bud's Class 223 for people who know SEAL stuff. 116 people started my class. 16 of those graduated on time. So a couple more people rolled into the class through the course of training, but 16 of the people that started finished on time. And it's very, very strenuous, as the attrition numbers would suggest. So I got through that. And then the second portion of what we do, the next portion of what we do, I should say, is survival school. So we go to survival school, and it's kind of like POW training, and it's where you get taught if you're caught behind enemy lines, this is how you should behave and how you answer questions and things like that. And there's 57 guys in the class and 3 women. And so you're in there with air crew and pilots and some Marines and things like that. And this one woman in the class was just the most optimistic, excited person I've ever seen to be in a terrible environment, right? You're getting beat, you're
Right.
not eating, you're barely sleeping. And after 5 days of this, I made my way over to her. I'm like, how are you so excited and happy to be here? And she's like, this is just fantastic. This is what I've wanted to do my whole life. It's spectacular. And I thought to myself, like, I need more of this person in my life. So I asked her out, and fortunately she said yes. And fast forward 2 years later, and we got married. So my wife, Laura, is spectacular. She went to the Naval Academy and was a helicopter pilot. She played rugby at the academy, so she's tough, as you can imagine, but she's great. And she and I had kind of that double military couple thing going for quite some time. And so shortly after we graduated from survival school, 9/11 happened. And so I went to Afghanistan and Iraq. She was on the longest ship deployment in American history since World War II. And so we spent a lot of time apart, but we did all that, and then we came back, and we were instructors at the same time. So she was a helicopter instructor. Her call sign was the Velvet Hammer, because
It's a pretty
very
badass
nice.
one, I can't lie.
Yeah, she's tough. And she's nice until she's not. And so and I went to SEAL training, and I was the instructor for the first portion of training, which is where Hell Week is. And so Hell Week is a very challenging week. You sleep 4 hours over the course of the week, and you run between like 100 and 150 miles, and you just have to keep going, right, is the point.
Right.
And so that is where a large portion of our attrition occurs. It's kind of like the gauntlet to make sure you want to be there. But a lot of people over-focus on the physical parameters of SEAL training and say, well, it's so tough physically, how can you get through it? It is 95% from the neck up, right? It is in your head, and you are deciding whether you're going to get this done or not. And so my example from when I was a student was, in my Hell Week, I was walking down the beach, and there was a hole covered by kelp, and I stepped in that hole, and my toes touched my shin. And so I heard a pop in my calf, and I was like, oh my God. And so I said to one of the instructors, hey, my leg's not quite working right. I heard a pop in my calf because I stepped in this hole. And he said, well, you can keep going or you can quit. And I said, I didn't come here to quit. Right. And that doesn't make me special. Like everybody in the class, and all SEALs have stories in this kind of vein where they were injured and kept going. And so you need to have that I'm going to finish this or die mentality. And people who have that attitude tend to do pretty well. But as an instructor, I'm using those physical parameters to suss out things in kids' heads about, like, do you have integrity? Do you have passion? Do you have courage? Do you have judgment and teamwork? Like, those are the things that I want to see in a SEAL trainee, right? That get them through training, as opposed, can they run this 4 miles in 32 minutes? It's like, that's important. Like, you need to have some physical ability, but what's really important is what's in your head and what's in your heart. So after being an instructor in SEAL training, I went to graduate school. I went to the Kennedy School at Harvard, and then I went overseas to Bahrain. Bahrain was great. My wife and I were both there at the same time. We worked on the Captain Phillips Maersk, Alabama hostage rescue together. It was really cool from different angles. And so the SEALs did a great job out there. I was not on the rescue portion of it, but the SEALs that were on the ship did a great job of rescuing Captain Phillips. It is now a famous, it was a famous movie. Tom Hanks did it. He was the guy. And so came back from that, and I got selected to be the president's military aide. So this was President Obama. It was 2010. There are 5 military aides at a time. I was the Navy's person, and 1% of your job is carrying the nuclear codes. This is where you carry the nuclear football. 99% of the job is coordinating the efforts of the White House military office. So there are about 3,000 people attached to the White House, and it's the planes and the helicopters and the cars and the Camp David and like all these things. You're coordinating their efforts so the president can do his job every day. And that was a fantastic job. You have to be on your game. President Obama was fantastic. He's a good father. He's a good husband. He's a good friend to his friends. He's the smartest guy in the room almost all of the time. He was very, very, very competitive, whether you're playing cards or golf or competing in politics, right? He wanted to win everything all of the time. And so there was a time when I was on Air Force One and we all played spades because he played spades, and they needed somebody to come play. And so I go up and I'm playing with him and his personal aide and the photographer, Pete Souza. And I was getting killed in spades, right? Like I'm doing terrible. And he's like talking about sugar tariffs with the NSC at the time, and he's reading this, intelligence briefing, and he looks at me and he goes, "Matt, just because I'm the president doesn't mean you can't try at cards." So he loved to talk smack, and he loved that you couldn't really say anything back because he was the president. So he was fantastic. But that job is unique, and it's you're carrying the nuclear code, so it's very high pressure. Right. But it's one of those jobs where it's not just nuclear stuff. It kind of like starts at, say, like a 9/11 or an assassination attempt, and it's warfare all the way to nuclear. And there was a day when I was on the plane on Air Force One. We're flying west across the country, and I get a call, and this is just an example of it, like a day. And I get a call and they say, "Hey, Matt, we've got a plane that's taken off out of JFK Airport in New York, squawking hijacked." So it's telling people they've been hijacked, and we don't have any communications with the plane. And I was like, "Whew." They would tell me more. And they're like, "We don't have any more." And I'm like, "Well, I need more than that." Like, "What do you need?" And I said, "I need to know where the plane's going. I need to know if the cockpit's secure. I need to know how many people are on board. Did anybody claim responsibility?" I'm like, these are all questions the president's going to ask me, like, right away. You know what I mean? So I want to know the answers. I said, "You have 1 minute." And I hung up the phone. And I went and talked to the staff. And I said, like, "Hey," one person, the chief of staff's rep that day, said, "Hey, we got this thing in New York. Eyes get really big. And they're like, do we have to talk to the president?" And I said, "Let's give it a minute, what I mean, before I have some questions that need answered. And, like, the president's safe. Like, we're able to do what we need to do. Give me 60 seconds. And I go back and I pick up the phone, and I'm staying calm, right? I'm projecting calm because calm is contagious. Panic is contagious too. Right. But if you stay calm, everybody tends to stay calm.
Right.
So I get on the phone. I said, "Hey, what's the update?" And they said, "Oh, funny thing. The pilot bumped the hijack button, and they haven't really been hijacked. We just, their radio's not working, and so we don't have any communications." I was like, "Oh, that's a big difference." And so I'm glad I didn't ruin the president's day with that. But, that didn't happen every day, but it happened. Those kind of things, false positives and substantial events happen from time to time. But other times you're reading Medal of Honor awards or Purple Hearts or, those kind of ceremonial duties that go with being the president's aide. So it was all very, very fun. But while I was there, I had 2 kids. So I have 2 boys who are now 15 and 13, and we really wanted to raise them in Michigan. So we lived in DC for a little bit. I left the White House in 12. I got out of the active duty military and switched to the reserves. and I started working for Under Armour. And so this is the business portion of things where I worked e-commerce operations there. And so it's all the things that people don't think about when a package gets to your house, right? It's the like picking the right item and shipping it and the warehouse and the customer service and that kind of stuff. I broke off from Under Armour with a group. We started a company that was another apparel company. It was a denim company. I was the chief operating officer for that. And then I got plucked away to be a CEO of an outdoor product company. So imagine Yeti made a table. It's called Pecos Outdoor. So all great, really good experiences of understanding bottom lines, understanding job creation, understanding balance sheets, right? So you do things and do things the right way. So let's see. That brings me kind of, we moved back to Michigan through the process of all those different jobs. And I didn't, like a lot of Americans, I don't think we are doing the best job we could currently in terms of our political direction. And I'm somebody who thinks a couple of good voices at the right moment can get us back on track. And so I was looking at the situation and thinking to myself, like, as a example to my kids, as a father, as a citizen, what can I do to contribute? And this is one of those things I can do, is run for Congress. And so this is purely a service thing for me. Like, I love family and I love country. And I think this is a way I can contribute. And I hope that we can get back on track in the not too distant future. And I want to be a part of that.
Right, absolutely. So when you are leading people in these high pressure situations, whether it be, a mission overseas or should you win a chaotic Congress that you're working within, how do you keep your values from getting lost in those senses of urgency?
Yeah, you can't let the urgent overwhelm the important, right? And so I come to leadership from a teamwork perspective. I consider myself, even with everybody else in the group, everybody's got a role to play. My job is not more important than anybody else's. In terms of a SEAL, when you're in a SEAL platoon and you're the leader of the platoon, your job is to coordinate everybody's efforts, right? I'm not a sniper, but I need the sniper to do their job. I'm not an explosive guy, but I need the explosive guy to do his job. And so I'm taking their jobs and coordinating everything and kind of making sure we can accomplish the mission. And I intend to bring that same attitude to Congress, where I'm really looking to work to get things done. And that may mean, reaching across the aisle, whatever we can do to get things done for the people of Michigan and the United States, I think is the right thing to do. So, but I'd focus, like the other answer to your question is, we need to focus on the things that we think are important. And so, like, I focused on integrity, courage, passion, judgment, and teamwork at SEAL training. I think focusing on affordability here is the right thing to do in today's day and age, because here we are in Michigan. It's 8 degrees outside, snow covered, right? It is freezing. And I know there are people in this district who are deciding whether or not they're going to heat their house or have dinner. And when you hear the president or other people say that affordability is fake news, like, it's not fake news here. People are making those choices, and they're hard choices, and you don't want to see people have to suffer, right? And so, or not eat, or not take their medicine, or not have health care and then slip and fall on the ice that's outside and have to go to the hospital, and everybody else pays for their medical bill because they don't have health insurance anymore because the price is going up 5x, right? And so those are where extending those subsidies matter, making sure healthcare is affordable, making sure housing is affordable, making sure food is affordable. All of these are the big chunk items in, what people spend their money on.
Right.
And I really, really care that people can get access to affordable healthcare, housing, and food, childcare across the board. So it's a big part of it.
Well, right. And also, you're running in a district that means so much to you. It's where your kids were raised. It's, near where you went to college. Like, to live there for that long and then turn around and go, well, I guess it doesn't matter to me that, like, people are able to keep the lights on and be able to afford healthcare. Like, that's not human. What's human is living there and going, oh, I care about my neighbors. I care about my community.
That's right. And I want to, as a leader and as a representative, I want to take care of the most people for the longest period of time. How can I do that?
Right.
What decisions can we make as a government that stay out of people's business and at the same time help them as much as possible, right? I think
Right.
that's the government's role. And so they keep them safe and healthy so they have clean drinking water and clean air and things like that, right? It doesn't have to be super complicated. I understand it's very challenging. But I kind of like chaos, I do well in chaos. And so
Yeah.
being a SEAL and being, in warfare kind of environments is often chaotic, as you can imagine.
Right.
And so I professionally grew up in those environments and it's not new to me. So I'm kind of excited about it.
I think you might be the only one that's just ready to get knee deep in the
And
gridlock
crazy.
and hot mess that's going on in DC right now.
We can, I want to solve it. That's it,
Right. Right. I think that's fair. So you have seen leadership at the highest level, including working alongside President Obama. You yourself have been a leader and a teacher. What do those experiences in viewing good leadership and also attempting to be a good leader teach you about power and responsibility that you would like to carry into politics?
It's so important when you're in a position of influence and power that you get it right. And not only do you get the job done, right? My tenets of leadership are kind of don't quit, this is a SEAL kind of thing. Get it done, do it right, lead by example, and inspire other people, right? And you want to have experienced people who have been through those kind of challenging, forging environments to be at the helm when things are hard. And things right now are hard. You know what I mean? I don't think we've had a time in recent American history that's been as challenging as it is right now. And I know there's many times in American history that we've made it through that are hard and harder, honestly, like civil rights, world wars, civil wars, the American Revolution. Those were pretty hard times. And we made it through as a country. I have full belief that we can do that now. And so you want to have leaders who are seasoned and who have the experience to be up there doing those jobs. And President Obama was that way. He was great about it. He was both easygoing and, like I said, super competitive. And so he could stay focused on the tasks and get the important things done, stay calm under pressure. And you can feel that as a country. I think I'm a firm believer of there are no bad groups or teams. There are just bad leaders. And so teams tend to reflect their leadership. And that's important. And we want to have good people in charge of our groups and good people in charge of our country. And I think people are seeing that that's true here, right? And so if you have something that's chaotic and you elect somebody who likes that hot button environment all the time and kind of sows the seeds of excitement, that can provide a very unstable, challenging environment for people to be in. And I want to be part of that solution to say let's all, like I said earlier, calm is contagious. Let's calm down,
Right.
get things under control, and lead the country in a direction that is successful and positive for everybody.
Right. Well, it's interesting to say that, it's what you said about leaders, about how it really is on leaders to kind of shape the way that people, whether it be their caucus or the team underneath them in a business professional setting, they set the tone for everything.
They
And
do.
it's so vital that you have somebody that is, like you said, calm, cool, and collected and able to be good under pressure, but exude this air of confidence. And it seems that you have almost solely operated in environments that have given you the opportunity to do that.
It feels that way sometimes, but it's good. I like the pressure,
Right.
pressure is a privilege. And so, and I view pressure as support. People aren't cheering for your demise, and people are cheering for you to succeed. And sometimes that comes off with, very excited, get it done, right? Kind of attitude, but they really want you to succeed for the country. And I think that's a good thing. And so
Right.
those kind of pressure filled environments are, in my opinion, positive and push us to do more and better for the country.
Right. So you've said that no party and no president is bigger than the Constitution, which is a revolutionary thing to be saying nowadays, considering where a lot of people seem to be at. What does defending democracy look like in practical terms right now to you?
In the military, we say, we swear an oath to the Constitution. We don't swear an oath to any particular person, or it is to the Constitution and making sure that we do what's best for the country. And never once in 20 years in my military time, I'm trying to think, never one time did somebody say, "Hey, what party are you?" Nobody cares. They care that you're good at your job and that you
Right.
can help accomplish the mission, right? And so those are things that I want to see us care about. It's not about party. It's country over party, right? And so it's a country first kind of attitude as it relates to getting things done. There's a lot of ways to go with this. I would like to see, way to kind of instill some confidence in people. I would like to see getting some money out of politics. I've taken a no PAC money pledge. I've taken a no corporate PAC pledge, a no stock trading pledge, right? I'm not going to Congress to get rich. And so I don't think there should even be a perception that somebody could have insider information, use it to their benefit, and go when they're supposed to be doing public service, enrich
Right.
their pocketbook. Like that's terrible. I want to see on the no corporate PAC pledge, I want to see people, I want to see the government care about what the citizens care about what the voters think, right?
Right.
Not as much care about what the corporations think. And so the people of America should be able to do that. And they have the ability to vote like that. And so I want to see less money in politics and more getting out the vote and more hearing from the American public what they want.
Right. And this is the no corporate PAC money. That's been an issue that I have heard from a lot of candidates throughout this cycle, which is, I don't know if I maybe just wasn't paying attention, but it seems as though that this is just an issue that has struck a chord with people and with candidates, that there are so many people running on it. However, there are still a lot of people, especially those that are sitting members, that are pretty quiet on the issue, probably because they are the ones that are benefiting from the rules that allow you to take corporate PAC money. How would you plan to convince others, especially sitting members of Congress, to kind of follow your lead on this?
That's a good question. I think some of it is for the judicial branch to decide in the End Citizens United kind of decisions to get that money out of politics. And it's a good question. I would try to, implore them to say like, hey, it's not about, it doesn't look good, let's say, if you're trying to defend your position and it looks like you've been paid to defend that position.
Right.
And so that is a challenging thing to do. And so I would say I want people to make a good decision because it's the right thing for Americans, not that it's the right thing for somebody's pocketbook. Right. And so, and I don't intend to line billionaires' pocketbooks or, any mega corporation to make sure that they have more when average Americans are struggling. And so I think it's important. And hopefully people feel the same. But the American citizens have the ability to vote in different people if they don't, right? And so 26 gives us that chance.
Right. Well, one of the first people I spoke to who was running on like the platform of not taking PAC money had said, like, when I get to Congress, I want to vote with my conscience. I don't want to have to turn around and go, wait, who did I take money from? And like, who do I have to keep them happy by like doing this vote? Like, not taking corporate money and taking only grassroots and, small dollar donations allows you to be so much more of a free agent. And you are literally only accountable to the people that put you in office.
Yep. And I was speaking with somebody today and I had that question, like, what huge groups have you taken money from? And I'm like, my money is small dollar money. And so, which is really good. And a very large portion of it comes from Michigan, and it's coming from the right place.
Right.
And I feel good. I feel just like you said, right? Like, I feel like I can vote my conscience and I can vote what the people in my district want.
Right.
And so I think it's very important for representatives to reflect their constituency to the country, whether or not they always agree with it. And so I'm here to listen and hear what my constituents want. And I feel like I am the only person in my race that is that way, where other people want to tell you how to feel. And my opinion is more like, tell me how you feel and I'll reflect it up.
Right. Absolutely. So trust in government is generally pretty low across the board nowadays. From your perspective, what is the most effective way to rebuild that trust? Not just in words and saying like, oh, you should trust us now, like we've taken back the majority, but also in action.
I think it's an opportunity taking the opportunity to get some things done, right? Get some things done for the American people and show the country that we can accomplish something as a government, not just take things apart and not just raise taxes or flounder about, point fingers at each other and shout, but we can actually say we want to get this done and get it accomplished. And so I think the last thing we did that with was healthcare. I see that falling apart a little bit. I'd like to protect that. People ask me, like, what thing would you do when you get to Congress? Healthcare is at the very, very top of the list, right? I want to see healthcare affordable for people. And so, but affordability overall is it. I think if people could see that we could make their lives more affordable, that would be a huge impact. And that they have the freedom to do the things they want to do.
Right.
And so if we do that as a government, we maintain freedom and we make things affordable for people, I think people will be pretty happy.
Right. Well, that's, with anything that gets passed, it is only as, useful to the people as they perceive it to be. Like, if there's no tangible results for a large chunk of voters, then they're going to sit there and say, this didn't change anything for me. Like, we have an ineffective Congress, we have ineffective leaders, whatever it may be, unless it's affecting, again, like you said, making their lives more affordable tangibly. It's tough to get that message out to people. So I think you're right. Like, it is going to be passing some sort of like large legislation that's going to benefit millions and millions and millions of people.
That's right. And, I would also say, don't pass bills that could hurt people. Right. And so those
you don't say.
Yeah. You start with doing no harm would be great. And so where I see the big bill kind of being that way, where it takes healthcare away from millions of people and tens of thousands in this district, it's very, very harmful. And so I feel like people who voted for that bill voted against this district. And I take that personally. Right.
So Democrats, especially in the 2024 election, have struggled to connect with some groups of voters, especially young men. What do you think is missing from how the party speaks to this group, and how would you like to see that change?
I would like to see people, I have 2 young boys, so I feel this on a daily basis. And I want young men to know that they're needed in this country to start with. And I want them to know that, like, you need to be tough. I want you to be tough. And it doesn't mean be like big, strong, like muscle tough, but have like a backbone and a strong attitude and a steel jaw. And so you can get in disagreements with people and find a way through. But I also want you to know that you can be compassionate at the same time, right? Like, one thing people don't know about SEALs for the most part is that in addition to being tough, we're big, tough guys. It's part of the job. We get trained to be compassionate. And so we get trained to go into a room where we might have to kill somebody, but there might be a baby in the room. There might be a grandma in the room that we need to take care of, right? And so we have to toggle kind of on tenths of a second timeframes between, like, is this person a threat? Am I going to kill him? Or is this person in need of help? And I'm going to care for them. And so you can be tough and compassionate. They are not mutually exclusive. You can be tough and kind. And I see that in the SEAL teams. And I also see that in other places, like professional fighters, MMA fighters aren't big, loud, angry people. They are controlled, disciplined, intentional individuals who are capable of beating up almost everybody in the planet. And they are nice because of it. They have the confidence that they don't need to display their masculinity,
Right.
they can say like, no, I know that. Like, I know I can handle myself physically. So they're nice to people. And I want to see young men be that way too, rather than be loud and aggressive. Be nice. Use your strength to help people and be compassionate, right? Like, it doesn't make you less of a man. It makes you more of a man. And so if you're only tough, then you're only half the person you could be. I think tough
Right.
and compassionate is the way to go.
Right. Well, and just the general discourse, I think, around like how compassion is weakness, like that's not true at all. Compassion
Not at all.
is what makes us human, what makes living in a community bearable and something worth fighting for. You don't have that unless you have compassion. And yeah, like you said, you need to be strong. You need to, be macho at certain points in your life, but you can't do that at the cost of your humanity.
That's right. And of other people's feelings, and like
Right.
you can hold a standard and be disciplined and still and deliver hard messages with kindness.
Right.
Like, it doesn't have to be so punch you in the face abrupt. You can say like, hey, this is hard and I know it,
Right.
but this is what has to happen.
Right.
And I still care about you as a person. But here's the direction we're going to go. Right. And those can be hard conversations, but you can do it with a caring, compassionate attitude.
Right. Right. So let's move on to more policy-focused questions. You often talk about the Michigan dream, that mix of hard work, fair pay, and community stability. What does that dream look like in 2025, and what policies can help make that more of a reality?
Yeah. The Michigan dream, kind of the American dream, right? Like, localized for Michigan. It's one of those things in 2025 where the middle class is kind of under attack in terms of costs and prices and wages, and getting pinched a little bit. And so prices are going up quite a bit, right? You can feel it every time you pay your electricity bill or fill up your car or pay for. I go to Culver's with my kids after hockey. It's a fast food place here, and for
We know
four people,
Culver's, don't you worry.
yeah, to get a 4 value meals for lunch is $50. Like,
Yeah.
that is so much money for fast food. And
Right.
so if you're stretching paycheck to paycheck, like, I don't know how you afford that. That's really, really expensive. And so I want to see people be able to afford that. And I think there are groups that are looking out for the middle class, and it's groups like Labor. I got endorsed by the plumbers and pipe fitters. They do such an amazing job of taking care of their folks, and it's that collective bargaining kind of mentality. But they do a great job with safety. They do a great job with healthcare. They do a great job with retirement and wages, and they want to make sure when prices go up, wages go up, so that you don't lose buying power, right? And that collective bargaining is so important. And it's not just for plumbers and pipe fitters, but for everybody. And so I want to see workers be able to collectively, so they get the benefits that they deserve for their hard work. And that when they get to their, 60s and 70s, that they are confident that they will be comfortable. They've worked hard for 50 years. They will have a house. They'll be able to send their kids to school. They'll be able to go on vacation from time to time. Not lavish, but comfortable, right? Not just surviving, comfortable. And so that's what I hope the Michigan dream will be in 2025. And I think it's possible.
Right. We did touch on affordability, and you just touched on it right there. But what do you think is one thing that Congress could do immediately to bring relief to people that are being squeezed for every cent that they've got?
I think there's a bunch of things. I think, like, on the healthcare front, they can continue the subsidies for people who need them. I think we could look at getting prescription drug costs down, and, kind of bargain collectively as a country to say, like, we're in Michigan. People go to Canada to get their drugs because they're cheaper. It's the same stuff. That's crazy. We should be able to take care of that here. On housing, I think there's some things we can do to get more supply of housing quicker, right? One of the spots in this district, Delta Township, 99% full in their apartments. It's an awesome place to live. It's in the Lansing area. And the mayor says you can work here and you can have fun here, but you can't live here because it's 99% full, right? Like, we should be able to take care of that. And so there are, whether it's options with different lending options or different, if we're going to build apartment buildings, ways we can zone things or get infrastructure put in so that it's easier for construction to occur, like those kind of things are fantastic. And then like stop stabbing ourselves in the leg like with things like tariffs, right? Like tariffs are a tax and we're paying for it. And so it hurts. In Michigan, particularly, it hurts because we're so close to Canada and we do so much business with Canada. A 35% blanket tax is just brutal. It causes car prices to go up. Less people buy the cars, so that, people who make the cars lose their job, and like everything's more expensive. It threatens our jobs, and we need less of that. I'm not fully against tariffs. There are times to use it, but they should be targeted. They should be timely, and they should be temporary. It's not like it's something that lasts forever and you should blanket it. That kind of policy is harmful, I think, in the long run, unless you're trying to defend something very, very particular, like a national security interest.
Right. So Michigan is at the center of a lot of, kind of new and blossoming industries like AI and advanced manufacturing. How do we as a country, and also Michigan as a state, embrace innovation without leaving workers or ethics possibly behind?
Right. On the government side, this is a great question. I think we need to give people guardrails and say, like, this is their left and right limit to say what is good and bad for what you're doing. And so, again, parent of young kids, I care a lot about AI safety and security, right? Like, I want to win that AI race against other countries. At the same time, I want my kids to be safe and our country to be safe so that it doesn't get out of control, and that my kid's not talking to Siri or Alexa or something like that more than they should. And so people need to know that those aren't, it's not a person at the other end of that thing. It's a bot. But you can help guide companies in the right way to make sure that we're doing things quickly and we're iterating and we're advancing and safely, and make sure that in the process of it, we're preserving jobs when we can. We're not polluting the environment. We are actually doing the thing that the local area wants, right? I had a question on, there's a data center potentially in the district and it's up for debate. And like, I'm in a information gathering phase where I want to hear from people what they have to say, because I don't have what I want is for it to be done well from the perspective of making sure it benefits everybody involved. And I want to hear what people have to say about how to do it. And so, and I want to take that to Congress. I don't want to like tell people how to feel. I want to hear what they have to say and take it up. And so I think it's an important difference. And it's something that when you're the CEO of a company, you've never had so many bosses, right? And I think being a legislator is like that. Like, you have a board, you have customers, you have shareholders, you have other investors, you have employees, you have a lot of people looking up to you. You are there to serve them, right? And sometimes I think leaders get the wrong idea that, like, I'm in charge and this is how it goes. And they think they're there to tell people what to do. It's the opposite. And, in government, in American government, the voters are in charge and they tell our leaders what to do. It's not the other way around. And so I think some leaders get that backwards and they think they're in charge, and no. It's the American public that's in charge.
Right. Absolutely. It's the question around AI, and it's like, as you brought up, the data centers it's a tough one for me because I find AI to be a little spooky. Illinois, where I'm from, was the first state, I think, to pass a law banning AI therapists. And I was like, sorry, I didn't even know that was something that I had to be concerned about. Like, that is the most insane thing. So it is spooky to think about, like, what it could become. And like you said, making sure your kids are not spending so much time or more time speaking to a robot than they are to their peers or their parents. Like, it's a spooky world out there, but there is a balance to be struck. And like you said, speaking to people, getting their opinions about what does this data center mean to you? Like, is that going to make your life better? Is it going to make it worse? Is so integral to, I think, moving through this kind of era that we're in, where we're still figuring out what AI can even do.
I agree.
So let's move on to the issue of national security. Can you very quickly give a definition about what national security is?
Give me a second to think.
It's okay. I think I told you that story where I took a like intro to national security class, and on the first day, my professor was like, "What do you think national security is?" And then he goes, "You're wrong. Like, it's everything that you guys just said."
Yeah, that's a big term. I would say protecting a country's citizens, right? And so, and that is a big statement. And so it can be taken a lot of ways. It can be looked at from a border perspective. It can be looked at from a military perspective. It can be looked at from a internal perspective, an external perspective. And so you want to make sure people are safe at the end of the day. So there's a lot of components to that.
So it is a term that gets thrown around a lot nowadays in the news where, things will happen and they'll say, oh, it's because national security, we had to do this. What do you think national security means in this era that we're living in, where our biggest threats could potentially be internal or about our divisions or disinformation or distrust in the government?
Yeah, there's a lot there. First off, I don't want to dismiss external threats.
They're
And
clearly still there. Yes,
they're there, and they're a lot. And I get, I have some younger folks asking me like, why do we have a military? And so that to me says like, oh, maybe you don't understand how many external threats exist, right? Like the United States is kind of at the top of the world in terms of that dominance kind of perspective.
right.
And we are constantly under attack by lots and lots of actors that want to see us not at the top. And so whether it's electronic or you see it or not, or, people trying to defraud other people, banking, like across the board, like we have to deal with a lot of security threats. Internally, though, you see some as well. And it's concerning to see those things. And I think they're amplified by the fact that social media allows us to be in these echo chambers where we get different information, right? We're not operating off a single source of information. And then that information is just kind of bounced around between people who all feel the same way. And it's dangerous. And we need to make sure we operate from good information and that we take care of any threats that exist internally as well.
I think it's interesting that you said you have young people asking, why do we have a military? Which I think it just goes to show that our national security apparatus is doing its job, because there are so many things that our government stops before they happen that we will never hear about. You will never hear about it on the news. They're sitting in some, bunker in a classified file, and that's perfectly fine by me. The less you hear about like those big scary things happening, like that is what makes our military so important. And it's a shame that people don't know that. Although, why would you know something like that? Unless I wasn't in the military, but I got my degree in U.S. foreign policy. Like, that's why I know things like that. That's the only reason. So it makes sense why, the general public would go, who cares?
Mm-hmm. And they have to be quiet about those things so they can continue to use the same sources to be safe. But like, it is also good, internally in Michigan, not too long ago, there was a shooting that was stopped by the FBI doing good work, right? And so and they shared that after it was thwarted, and to say like, hey, this thing didn't happen because we did good investigative work. And so when they can, I think it's great that they share it because it lets people know that the system is working probably a little better than they're aware of. And so I think that's good.
Absolutely. So a couple little wrap-up questions for you, just to keep it on a lighter note and make sure we're leaving the conversation feeling better than we entered it. Is there anything that still gives you hope about this country and the people that are trying to serve it?
Oh yeah. Like for sure. Americans give me hope, period. Like they are so interested and they care so much about what's going on in our government and in our world. And they want to see that toughness and kindness, right? They don't want to just see the toughness. And I'm encouraged by their curiosity. I'm encouraged by their energy. And so I'm excited to see that and be a part of it. I'm also encouraged that they want to see the branches of government kind of all level where they're supposed to be, as the founding fathers,
Right.
wanted it to be. They see the executive branch getting a little big from the perspective of over time, and the legislative branch is kind of acquiescing some of that power. And like I'm somebody that wants the legislative branch to push back a little bit, and
Right.
I want to be a part of that, right? I went to the State of the Union with President Obama one time, and Congress was making every step the president took difficult at the time. And so, and at the time, I was kind of like, this seems unnecessary. And now, with a little reflection and time, like I think it's good to have some of that friction there, right? The Congress is like, no, that's my job. Stop trying to take my job. And so
Right.
the Constitution says this is my job. Please let me do it. So those kind of things, people want to be involved in that. They want to make sure that's still happening. And I'm excited that citizens are encouraged to participate in their government in that way. And so I want to be a part of that. I'm excited for the American people, and I'm excited that they're so energetic and involved about it.
Right. I've never seen so many people just like locked in to what's going on, whether it is, following current events. For me, I've never volunteered on a campaign. I'm volunteering on a campaign. Never thought that was something that I would do, and I'm doing it this year. Like, it's inspiring to see how many people just, one, care, but two, are willing to put action behind those thoughts. It
Agree.
makes me every time feel like, oh, maybe there is a light at the end of this tunnel, and like we will get out of this.
Yes. And we've been through hard times. Like Americans can do this. We love a challenge, right? And we rise to the challenge. And so I wholeheartedly believe there are some people that are like, this is impossible. I'm like, this, as a SEAL, I get brought into impossible situations, professionally pretty frequently, but I do not think this is impossible. And I'm
Right.
excited to solve the thing that people think is impossible, because it is something that not only can we come out of this whole, but we can come out of this like stronger than we were before. So.
Right. Right. Well, like you said, like we've been through wars, we've been through a civil war, and like been able to come out on the other side of it. Like, we have every sign to indicate that there is a light at the end of this tunnel, that there is a way to get out of this. It may look bleak right now, quite frankly, but we don't really have a reason to think that we wouldn't be able to come out on the other side of this, maybe even stronger than we were before.
That's right. We can do this. So we can do hard things.
Right. I was going to say my word of 2026 is going to be resilient. That's what I'm living by.
I like that. That's good.
So one last little softball question for you. Somebody you know is coming to Michigan's 7th district for the first time. You say, Matt, where should I eat? What's your go-to restaurant? If you need to split it up, you need to give me a breakfast and a dinner, whatever way you want to go about this, I'm happy to hear.
Oh my gosh. I'm somebody where, like, generally speaking, if there's a tablecloth and it's not barbecue, like, I don't go there, right? So I'm not like a fancy person. I'm like a hole in the wall dude. Jersey Giants in Lansing is like good sandwiches all the time, every time.
Okay.
Like, great.
Is it more of like a lunch place, or is it like
it's like
dinner?
Submarine sandwiches.
Okay. Love
Super
it.
good. When I'm in Brighton, which I am a lot, I go to Brighton Bar and Grill for dinner. It is it's more of a dinner place, but it's like a upscale sports bar kind of thing. So there's TVs, like a good place to have a drink and watch TV. Watch the game, so to speak, the Lions game. Go Lions, won last night. Let's see. I mean, I could go on for a long time. So, but Brighton Theater and Coffee House is fantastic for coffee. So I could go on and on.
A lot of
But
people get really
those are good
stressed out
starts.
by that question. So
Oh, no.
you're not the first one to sit there and go, oh shit, I got too many.
Yeah, I got too many. That's the problem. And so, but there's a lot of places to go. So
Well, it's always interesting to ask people about like what's popular in their district. Like in where I'm at, it's a lot of like pizza places when I was asking the candidates in my district, and you've named more like sports bar, like kind of things, which I think is a little bit representative of kind of like that area of Lansing that you were talking about. So it's always fun to get those recommendations. Plus, when I end up in your district for some reason, I now have a good place to get food.
that's right. And it's probably reflective of the fact where I am in life. I'm a hockey dad, so like that's where you go. You know what I mean? So it's like coffee and a drink, and so
That's
it's that kind
okay.
of thing.
You know what? That's life. All right. Well, that is all I have for you. Matt, do you have anything that you feel like I might have missed?
No, I think this was really good, Paige. I appreciate it. And I appreciate the opportunity to come talk, and I'd love to do it again sometime.
Of course. I will have your campaign website and the link to donate in the show notes of this episode so that people can go and support you in any way they can, because you are only taking small dollar and, small donations. So that's the way you're thriving right now. And yeah, that is it. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Of course. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this episode of Current Affairs Unfiltered. I really hope you enjoyed this conversation. As I said at the top of the episode, Matt just has such in-depth knowledge to these topics that are generally very complicated. And I said it in the episode about how I had a professor once that said national security is literally everything. And Matt did such a great job at just explaining, some of those kind of complexities and those nuances in there. And I really hope you walk away feeling a little bit more educated around stuff like that. But if you do live in Michigan's 7th District, I would encourage you to go out and vote for Matt in the primary. And if you don't live in Michigan, I will have his campaign website linked below so you can read more about him and donate to his campaign, especially because Matt is not taking those corporate donations. So very important to get your small dollar donations in there. And yeah, I will be back next week where we will be sitting down with our final candidate for Candidate Month 2.0. And then in February, I will be back to normal guest, then solo, and I will have my final 2 candidates from Illinois on. And then we'll be back to regular business in March. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to follow, leave a review, or share it with someone who could use this information. Specifically, somebody perhaps that lives in Michigan's 7th District. To support this podcast, you can also subscribe to my Substack, She Knows the Score, which is linked in the show notes. And as always, if you have questions, topic suggestions, or just want to say hi, you can find me on social media at Current Affairs Unfiltered Pod on Instagram, or send me an email at currentaffairs.unfilteredpod@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Keep asking questions, stay engaged, and remember that Midwest is best. I'll see you guys next week.